let's talk about goals, celebrations, wins, and frustrations. Hey everybody, really excited to record a long video. It's been a couple weeks since I got to do this. I really love doing this. It's almost 80 and 80 weeks, so really enjoying it. So the camera's a little bit different right now. So start out with frustrations. So this is the camera I normally use, and then it just stopped working. I've got to be in another province in 5 hours. I'm so frustrated, but I'm like, I made him a commitment every Wednesday, put a video out for 100 weeks. So I have 20 more to go, and then I'll do 50 more. But the goal was 100 in 100 weeks, so we're almost there, which is awesome. But the camera wasn't working, so I had to get an old camera. So this is why it's shot like this, and it looks like this, but I'm still doing it. So a frustration's there, but I still kept going. And that's kind of what I want to talk about this week is celebrating, just celebrating wins and celebrating where you've come from and where you're going, where I've come from and where I'm going. So go back to the men's retreat I did a couple of years ago with my dad, take full responsibility right here, take full responsibility and then be completely open. And so in the Art of Living world, we just had a huge celebration a couple of days ago called Guru Purnima, where you look back and you see all your spiritual growth for the year. And you kind of celebrate your growth and all you've been given and all the teachers you've ever had and the teachers you have now and your goals for the next year. So my goal is always to live in the moment and to live the knowledge of the scriptures. So I read one of the books, I read the Bible, I read Patanjali, I read lots of different scriptures, but one I read a lot is Vasishtha's Yoga. So this is the introduction to the book. So this is where my goals are for my spiritual path. The world appearance is a confusion. Even as the blueness of the sky is an optical illusion, I think it is better to not let the mind dwell on it, but to ignore it. So in the introduction, it says, the blueness of the sky is an optical illusion. It's better to not let the mind dwell on it, but to ignore it. I think that's so cool. So it's like, wait, just ignore things. It makes no sense. And then it contradicts itself so much because life is so contradictory. And it says, an often recurring expression in this scripture is, a crow aligns in a coconut palm tree, and that very moment a ripe coconut falls. The two unrelated events thus seem to be related in time and space, though there is no causal relationship. Such is life, such is creation, but the mind caught up in its own trap of logic, why, invents a why, and a wherefore to satisfy itself, conveniently ignoring the inconvenient questions that still haunt an intelligent mind. So that's so cool. Like a crow goes on a coconut palm tree, and the same moment a coconut falls, but they're unrelated events. And so I think about this all the time. I don't really understand it, but I think about it a lot. When something happens and like I'm involved in something or someone else involved in something, I'm like, is that like the crow and the coconut on the palm tree? So that I think about a lot. And then Vasishtha demands direct observation of the mind, its motions, its notions, its reasoning, the assumed cause and the projected result, and even the observed and the observation, and the realization of the indivisible unity as the infinite consciousness. That is just so amazing. Just keep again and again, look at things. And then he says, except through this scripture, one cannot gain what is good now or at any time. Therefore, for perfect realization of the supreme truth, one should fervently investigate this scripture alone. So he says that, and it's like, okay, so that again, like this is the only way. And then I'm like, you read this in the introduction, like, oh, here we go again. Someone's saying this is the only way. And then right after that it says, if, however, one thinks it is not authoritative because it is of human origin, one can resort to the study of any scripture dealing with self-knowledge and final liberation. So again, I think it's so beautiful because it says the sky's an illusion, and if it's too much for your mind, don't think about it, just ignore it. A crow and a coconut aligning on the same palm tree are not similar. Investigate your mind. This is the only way. But if you don't think it's the only way, find your own way. That's amazing. And then the other day I was reading, so I read a page a day, That's the recommendation. And anyone who has trouble sleeping, this is amazing. So I think this is my third or fourth time through. I'm on page 3. What page am I on? 331. This is on liberation. And then he says, in order to reach the state of perfection or liberation taught by me, you should live a life of non-attachment, which is amazing just in itself, that one statement. And doing what is appropriate in every situation as it reaches you. Rest assured that this is the vital fact in the teachings of all scriptures. So being non-attached to good and bad, which has been said for centuries, millennia, and doing what is appropriate in every situation as it reaches you. I mean, so this is my goal. This is what I would love to do. I'd love to be not attached and do what's appropriate. But is that the case? No, I still get upset. I still get frustrated. I still get all these things. But this last, celebrating on Guru Purnima, what were my goals and what were my learnings? Last year, I decided at Christmas to adopt my dad's, right? Here we're back to my dad. Because these are my dad's hands in the photo, of a positive mental attitude. And having a positive mental attitude, looking for the good, believing in the good, finding the good. Not that you don't acknowledge that there's bad, not that I don't acknowledge it, but just looking for the good and being grateful as much as I can. And it's really changed my life. And this summer, when I was at the Canadian Art Living Center, which we call the ashram, I got to see that, and I've made such great strides. Do I still have lots of ways to go? Sure. And this year will be just more focused on living with non-attachment, doing what's appropriate, stepping into my prosperity, living in oneness with the gratitude of life. And these are amazing goals. And knowing that the camera's going to break, it's going to be frustrating, and being okay with it, or being okay with not being okay with it. I got to interview my dad last year. That was kind of like the highlight of the year. As far as this channel goes, it was amazing. It was the most views I got on a video, the most watch hours, and it was awesome. So I'll put a link to that when Dad talks about his positive mental attitude. And it's not that we don't acknowledge the negative, it's focusing on the positive. And because everything has one, right down to the atom, the positive and negative charge, and then the center is the oneness. So I wish I was in the oneness more. I am sometimes, not always, but I certainly can choose to be more positive than negative. And watching what I say about people, watching what I say about situations, my thoughts, my vision, my hearing, it's just amazing. So I'll put a link to that. And then just ask yourself, what are your big goals for your life personally? So it's you got your finances, your family, your fitness, your health, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. You have relationships and the whys. That's what it comes down to. We have our relationships, we have our finances, we have our health, ours and our loved ones and those closest to us, and big whys. So what are your goals in those? What are your goals in those situations? My finances is just get my financial house in order. My relationship is just that's just to be the best person I can be and always be adding love. Health is just keep what I'm doing. I'm very healthy. I like it. And the whys is, I don't know if I'll ever figure any of the whys, but I just like being open to it. And so what are your answers to those? What are your goals for your finances and your relationships and your health and the big whys of the world? Think about that. What are the wins you've had in those 4 categories? What it celebrate a time like me, I'm doing great. I've done so well, living the knowledge, living all this love and acceptance and positive mental attitude the last year. It's been awesome. You need to celebrate that. And then where are you frustrated? And are you okay with it, or are you not okay with it? So check out that video that of my dad talking about positive mental attitude. Have a great one. Be kind and loving as you can to yourself. And if you can, one other person, maybe 2. All right. Have a great one. See ya.